What if I told you that war, tribalism, and pretty much all human conflict isn't actually part of our fundamental nature? I mean, what if it's not who we are, but it's a sickness, a disease we've been carrying for thousands of years? That's the fascinating, kind of radical idea we're going to explore today.
I mean, you hear this all the time, don't you? Just look at history. Turn on the news. It's really easy to just throw your hands up and say, yep, we're just hardwired to fight each other forever. It almost feels like an obvious truth. But what if it's not?
Well, the author of our source material has a very clear, very direct, one-word answer to that question: wrong. And that right there is the core argument we're going to unpack. This idea that conflict isn't our destiny. It's more like a deep-seated illness. And maybe, just maybe, it's curable.
Okay, so if we're not inherently violent, then what are we? And how in the world did we get into this mess of perpetual conflict? Let's dig into the author's view of what humanity's true nature is versus the condition we find ourselves in today.
So the argument here is that our default setting, our factory settings, are all about cooperation, not combat. I mean, think about it. Our real nature is to talk, to communicate, to exchange ideas and goods. We're capable of these incredible, sophisticated acts of teamwork. And those are the skills that allowed us to develop knowledge, create wealth, and, populate the entire planet. We didn't do that by fighting each other. We did it by working together.
So if our true nature is to be these noble, cooperative beings, then what explains all of, well, history? And this is where the author introduces a really powerful metaphor. He calls it a civilizational disease. It's like this contagious, learned behavior of constantly looking for and sometimes even inventing enemies. It's a condition that has plagued us for tens of thousands of years. It's not in our DNA, it's something we've learned. It's in our culture.
Any good doctor will tell you you can't treat a disease until you understand what's causing it. So let's move on and figure out how, according to this analysis, humanity caught this sickness in the first place.
Now here's the paradox. The source of the problem is also the source of our greatness. The author calls it the human thinking function, and you can think of this as our core operating system. It's our built-in capacity for belief, for having a sense of mission, for using logic and feeling emotion. It's the very thing that makes us human.
And this is where the tragic irony kicks in. Our greatest strength becomes our greatest weakness. Let's just walk through the steps. So first, our awesome thinking function creates this vast universe of knowledge. But, and this is so important, no single person can ever know it all. This creates what the author calls a postnatal disparity. We all know different things. From there, we naturally form groups around the things we share, our beliefs, our religions, our nations, our ideologies. And from there, well, it's a tragically short step to seeing other groups not just as different, but as the enemy.
And what's crazy is that the sickness becomes so normal that we actually start celebrating the symptoms. Inside our own groups, the people who stir up conflict are called brave heroes. The people who manufacture enemies are praised for their brilliant foresight. The disease totally warps our perspective until we can't even see it as a sickness anymore.
So if conflict really is a disease, a deeply ingrained condition, but not who we truly are, then is there a cure? Well, the author thinks so and offers a prescription. Let's take a look at the proposed path to recovery. The cure that's proposed is both personal and collective, which is interesting. It has to start with each of us with individual enlightenment, basically developing a healthy, well-rounded thinking function. It means we can support our groups, but without losing our own self-respect and individuality. And, super critically, it requires universal access to knowledge, so we're not all trapped in our own little bubbles. And the ultimate goal? For all of humanity to reunite on a new, mature level of equality.
So what happens if we actually pull this off? I mean, if we manage to administer this cure and heal ourselves from this civilizational disease, what does a post-conflict humanity even look like?
The outcome is, well, it's profound. The author puts it in this very simple, very powerful way. Humanity steps out of its childhood. We would finally move beyond the petty squabbles, the turf wars, the ideological battles that have pretty much defined our species' adolescence. In a very real sense, we would finally grow up.
And this brings us to the final, really provocative thought here. The author doesn't give us a perfect blueprint for this future. Instead, we're left with a challenge, a question for us to chew on. What will society be like when we finally matured? What does eternal harmony and peace actually look like in practice? That isn't a question for one person to answer, but maybe
Maybe it's for a newly healthy humanity to discover, together.